Everyone, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to watch my images on this exhibition today. With being locked down for the last 5 to 6 months, I just can't tell you how boring life can be without those long photography tours. And this online exhibition definitely was a big relief where we could do something related to photography. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank CFC for creating this concept of online exhibition. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Please watch this on a laptop or a PC so you can see the pictures and relate it to the explanation which I give you. And also, please bear with me for I think it's a bit longer than what I expected it to be. A small introduction of myself. My name is John Anthony. I served in the Air Force for 15 years, then went on to work with Jet Airways and then later on with Qatar Airways and the government of Qatar. I put in more than 40 years in aviation before I volunteered to quit my lovely job and do what I enjoy in life. That's photography. People said I was crazy. I said, that's it. What can I do? I've been with the camera for the last 12 years or so. I also have been on 11 National Geographic expeditions covering Tanzania, Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, and a lot of trekking in Bhutan. I started with the Nikon D80 and progressed slowly up. I still like my D80 for its depth of colors, and I currently use the Nikon D5, the D850 and the D4 in the same order of preference. The lenses I always carry are the 500mm f4, the 70-200, the 24-70 and the 16-35 for my wide angle shots. For portraits and macros, I always use the 105mm f2.8 and the 85mm f1.4. My standby cameras bodies are the Nikon D300, the D7000 and the D800. As a wildlife photographer, this is what I have in my bag, along with the bean bag, probably a few battery chargers, hard drives, camera cleaning kit and a bottle of water, of course. To begin with, I've displayed my images localized only to the Great Migration between Tanzania and Kenya. I'm primarily a wildlife photographer and I'm learning to shoot landscape only in the last 1.5 years or so. As a teaser, I will try and show you just one bird which I shot in Costa Rica in the end. I hope I have some time for that. I'm also sure that every photographer remembers the story behind each image he or she took, even if they were 10 to 12 years ago. So you can never forget it. The pictures I'm going to showcase to you today may not be the most dramatic pictures I ever shot, but they're definitely the ones with a lot of interesting stories behind. And I'll also tell you how long it took on the field to get that image which I was satisfied with finally. Let's start with portraits. This lion was one of the 2 coalition lions I shot. This was the previous day. This lion, along with his brother, had attacked a hyena, which we shot again, and it mauled the hyena very badly and it left it to die. They did not kill the hyena to eat the hyena because hyenas are not in the food chain for the lions, but they just killed to scare the other hyenas in the area. To take this picture, I spent nearly an hour, let's say, and I had to move around a little to make sure I was facing the lion straight on, and also making sure the light was not directly onto the face because I wanted a shade on one side of the face. So I got the light from one side and then the shade on one side. So the image really took an hour and a half to get what I really wanted after probably 20-25 shots. Shot again with a Nikon D5 at f4 at 1/5000th of a second, ISO 640 with a 500mm lens, and centimeter metering as the line was right in the center of the frame. I sincerely like this picture for the intense look I got from the line straight into my camera. The next one is the Scarface. I know people who do wildlife, they must have heard about Scarface. Scarface is the most sought after lion by photographers in Masai Mara's, famous for its battle scars. I was lucky to get a Scarface just a 3 minutes drive from the camp where we stayed, and I got a full 2 hours dedicated to this beautiful lion with an extremely strong attitude. I took a lot of portraits. I also got pictures of Scarface dragging its early morning kill to keep it underneath the tree so it can eat the whole day at leisure. I don't know whether you know the story about how Scarface got its name. Scarface got its name in 2012 when he lost his right eyelid while making a territory snatch with his three brothers. His three brothers' name is Hunter, Sikyo, and Morani. After which he took over the famous marsh pride of Masai Mara. You will never find Scarface peaceful. I like this picture because he is always continuously in a ferocious mood. This picture I like because it shows his real character of being ferocious, and it also shows his ripped off right eyelid along with the other battle scars on his face. Shot with the Nikon D4 at ISO 1000, I metered it center weighted and then moved to compose. If you are doing your safari circuit from Tanzania, in March, you begin your photography safari most probably from the Ngorongoro crater. We just checked into the reserve gate, and as we entered, we had to slow down very considerably due to the very heavy rains we had, red mud and slush all over, and we were driving pretty slowly at one point, and a driver said we need to stop here because I think there's something in the bushes. So when we looked at the bushes, we saw a huge lion pride waiting to cross the road. We photographers took some time to adjust our eyes to the bushes, and we saw a whole pride of lions waiting in the bushes. We were not prepared to shoot anything because we just came back from a long drive, so cameras were down and we were relaxed. We just had to jump up and pick up a camera and start shooting. And then we noticed this lion put its head up through the bushes looking at us, and I got a portrait shot. So we also got some pictures with just the eyes peeping through the clearing in the bush. I used the widest aperture on the 500mm, and it was a bit high on the ISO to get the image as it was late evening, and I left it to matrix metering. Probably this was the first kill I shot in the wild. This was in Dutu in Tanzania. We followed a cheetah and her two cubs for nearly 2 days, and saw how the mother used to do some dry runs, trying to show how the hunt is being done, and that happened for nearly 2 days. On the third day at breakfast time, the real hunt happened, and right in front of us. Though both the mother and the cubs were in the chase, surprisingly, only one of the sub-adult cubs did the kill. And we didn't realize that the mother had kept the cubs hungry and was only training them for the past 2 days. This must have been the cubs' first hunt, I believe, because it was so clumsy, and the mother just sat there and saw the cubs go around with their jobs. They took a long time to just kill the wildebeest calf, and we could hear the calf cry for a very, very long time. And the mother of the wildebeest came back and stood there helplessly looking at it. But when she saw the three cheetahs, she just stood for a bit, and then she just vanished. That's nature. Noontime, so I had my camera set for the bright light. ISO is 250 with a D4 at f6.3 aperture. This was again in Dutu, Tanzania. This was this year in the month of March. Dutu, as everybody knows, is an off-roader's paradise. You can leave the road. So we saw these two cubs with their mother late in the evening. We spent more than an hour trying to shoot some portraits, but the failing lights and the rain, pouring rain, we didn't get any good images. So we just packed up and went back to bed. Next day in the morning, we found them exactly in the same place where we left in the previous evening. But they're now in the open. They were not in the bush. So with the golden light of dawn, I really wanted a good portrait of the whole family. So I spent more than an hour trying to get the mother and her two cubs in one frame, and I failed. And I got many images with just the two cubs, but I wanted both to look into the camera. And I think after nearly an hour and a half, I got the cubs in one frame, but only one of them was looking into the camera. It was okay because I was able to frame them in the greenery. This Nikon D5 at f4, centimeter metering, and this was in March this year, just before the pandemic set in, and we nearly got marooned in Ethiopia, and we were lucky to get out on the last flight out to India. So that was those two cubs portrait. This is Masai Mara. No off-roading, as everybody knows, no off-roading permitted here, and we saw this large herd of elephants. And because we could not off-road, it was practically impossible to get a lone elephant in the frame up close. So I had this crazy requirement to shoot a lone African elephant with, particularly with the ears flapping front. I spent nearly an hour moving around on the road, and finally I saw this elephant coming towards me alone to join the herd on the other side of the road. I had it head on, but I wanted the ears to flap forward, so I just shot rapid shots at 8 frames per second, and I kept clicking, hoping to get the flapping ears. And I did get finally this particular frame, which I was happy with. I desaturated the image to have the viewer concentrate on the elephant instead of the green grassland. The D850, so it's a huge picture, f6.3, in the only metering mode that would fit a subject like this, is center weighted. So that was the story of the elephant. And I remember this. This picture was taken in Masai Mara. This was one of the three male coalition lions. They were resting under an acacia tree. It was mid-afternoon, so there was a lot of light. And even though there was a cheetah just with the three cubs just a patch away, I knew there would not be a kill or a hunt because we saw the lion's stomach was full. So we were not expecting any hunt. So we just lazed around trying to get some close-up portraits of the lions. And sometimes even a yawn would make a good picture. And this was a yawn. As soon as it stopped yawning, everybody clicked through, and you could hear rapid shots coming from every camera around me. And again, I got it in monochrome, for I like it this way. I like black and white. Nikon D5 f4 ISO 200 with the 500mm. I hope you like this picture, which is in black and white. This in the wild, there are plenty of situations when you can see affection being displayed. I've shot lions, cheetahs and leopards with their cubs displaying a lot of love. It's just that you have to look out for this and you will get it. This was a young zebra, just probably a couple of weeks old, which came running to her mother to rub her cheeks with her mother. And the mother reciprocated, and it just rubbed itself. Right? Probably a few seconds of this affection and love, and the young one again ran away to play around. It looked so human for me. And you can see how beautiful the small one is putting its head up to rub itself on the mother. Shot with the Nikon D5 at 1 by 1000th of a second with the 500mm, again a center weighted imagery. Serval cats mostly they're very shy cats, very solitary, and their social interaction is limited to, let's say, periods of mating. I've seen servals many times before, and I've shot them also, but I've shot them just fleeting shots in the bushes, not so good shots. But this was a strange interaction of a serval cat with humans, which we shot this March in Dutu in Tanzania. When we were driving out to Dutu to go to Serengeti, we found two servals in the bush, and for some reason, one of the servals in the bush was trying to be close to humans and too close to our vehicles. It was strange because I haven't seen this before in my life, and they were most of the times around or under the vehicle, so we had to be very cautious moving vehicles. And there was this one particular moment when one of the servals even tried jumping into our vehicle, but luckily the window was partially closed. So we spent time clicking these lovely cats till finally one of the cats jumped on the bonnet of a vehicle and spent some time giving me opportunities to shoot close-ups, as well as the strange habitat behind. If you can see there, vehicle habitats and rear view mirrors, that's it. My head was out of the window to bend and take the shot of the cat on the bonnet. I like this whole experience of the serval cat. Anybody who's been to Masai Mara would have shot these lovely, beautiful, colorful lizards. This is the agama, or agama. There are plenty of agamas. They also call it the rainbow lizard, or they also call it the rainbow agama. There are nearly 35 to 37 species of agamas recorded, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa. Males are more colorful, and this is a male, than the females. Now, friends living in the Middle East, I'm sure, must have shot many different species of agamas in their own areas. At the Masai Mara gate, where you need to get down and do a check-in, you will find plenty of these lizards on the rocks posing for you. And it will give you enough time to take the kind of images which you want. And if you ever get a chance to walk into the gate office, please make sure you flip up the notice board. They got 3 or 4 big huge notice boards there. Flip up the notice board and you'll find hundreds of female agamas below those notice boards hibernating. And since these lizards sit on rocks and bask in the sun, they move very little, so that gives you enough opportunities to shoot. And the only metering for this is spot metering for best results. That was the agama, and then we go straight to the river crossings. This is what every photographer wants when he arrives in Masai Mara in September, the river crossing scene. I mean, it's very dramatic. You may find different types of shots which you can get here. We spent nearly 2 weeks in this area, and we never got one shot of a river crossing. So we were quite surprised that we did not get a shot. And that was the last day, and we had to leave for Lake Nakuru on the last day. When we came to the river early in the morning at 6:30, we were sure of a crossing, because we saw a huge herd congregated on the other side of the river. And we waited for a long time. From 6:30 onwards, we had a breakfast in the vehicle. We didn't get down, and then suddenly it all happened around 10:30 in the morning. One wildebeest gingerly stepped out and crossed the river, and then the mad rush began. It was a stampede, a push and a jump into the waters, with the Nile crocodiles waiting in the water, the hungry lions waiting across in the river, and these animals had to jump, swim through and dodge past the lions. It was exhausting. We could see the animals exhausted completely when it came out. I took a lot of pictures, but then I saw one place where the wildebeest had to do a leap from a very high embankment, and I focused my camera to get this particular shot from there. I don't know how many of them ended up in the river with broken legs. You will always notice, my ISO is a bit up, for you never know when you need it. So subject is bang on in the center. It has to be center weighted metering, and that is what I did. This is what every photographer wants to shoot in Masai Mara action. And when two of them jump together, voila! This is synchronized exhibition in photography. Photographers, most of them commit a mistake of just shooting pictures, and they completely forget to see the beauty around them with their own eyes. Yes, once you have shot a few good practices, it's a sincere piece of advice. Put your cameras down and watch the scene. Look at the scene unfolding in front of you in large canvas, live in front of you. You may never see something so grand again. It's very important. And since there's a huge herd that crosses, photographers need not worry if they miss a shot in between. They will always get another 100 chances more. Okay. This was again shot with a Nikon D5 at f5, 1/4000th of a second, ISO 800 with again a 500mm lens. And when we finished this shot, we started driving to Lake Nakuru, which is a 6 hours drive. We had a lot of stories to share from each of those vehicles and a lot of images to review. And after this mad jump which takes place, breaking of legs and everything, it's all in the splash in the crocodile infested waters of the Telek River. There is no order here, just jump in, survive, just basic instinct to cross the river, come what may. Calves would try to be as close to the mothers, but once inside the water, it's each individual animal survival which is important, and they look after themselves. And those who survive drowning and the crocodile will regroup on the other side of the river. That is if they survive the lions waiting there. So it's a big splash in the water there, with the current of the water pulling them into the other side. And they have to do this dangerous crossing every year because as rains move north and they need grass. So if they do not cross the river, they can't eat. And just a couple of weeks after this particular madness, they start turning back and take the eastern route back to Dutu and to Serengeti. So when they arrive in Dutu by, let's say, in January, mid-January, they're ready to deliver around 500,000 babies in the month of February. Though I have not tried an hot air balloon till now in Africa, photographers who want to ride the balloon and get an excellent view of wildlife from above. The cost here, I think it's around $600 or $700, and that includes a ride and a lovely breakfast spread with some good wine right inside the wild grassland. So photographers You get to shoot the colorful event of pumping of the helium into the balloon in the dark, and then to see scores of balloons over the savannas, and then you get also to see wild elephants from the top, and it's a good experience, but I have not done it yet. This was shot into the sun, and again I wanted a single balloon, not too many balloons, and then I just wanted to create a kind of a minimalistic shot. So I just have the balloon, I have one single acacia tree on to the left and a couple of acacia trees hidden on the right side. Then I think it was on the last day when we were returning back to the lodge late in the evening, and we had our cameras resting on the seats because we did not expect any photography, because we were just around a few minutes away from the lodge. And then we sighted this cheetah resting alone on a large rock looking into the horizon. Cheetahs, you must remember, do not have their own territory, so they have to be on a constant watch for other predators. Once our vehicle stopped to shoot this beautiful cheetah, it turned towards us, giving us this nice beautiful pose. We spent at least half an hour shooting this lovely animal. Nikon D5 1/40th of a second. I steadied this shot at 1/40th of a second with a beanbag. ISO is 1000. We shot a couple of images of this particular cheetah with different kinds of composition because it was static, it was not moving, so it was good for us. You cannot be shooting in Africa and not get a good sunrise or a sunset, especially a silhouette shot. So before we finish this Africa, let's look at two silhouette shots, both shot in the morning. This particular one is shot at Lake Nakuru in Kenya. It's a white rhino. This region is also home to two species of white rhinos, the southern white rhino and the northern white rhino. Among the northern white rhinos, there are only two confirmed surviving rhinos. The names are Najin and I think it's Najin and Fatu, both in captivity and protected 24 hours by armed guards. White rhinos are not white per se. The Dutch used to call them Wijd, W-I-J-D, because of their wide mouth, which then finally ended up as white as time passed by. So they are actually wide mouth rhinos. We call them white rhinos. I shot this in the morning. I had to underexpose it to 3 full stops, as you can see, to get the shot which I wanted. Luckily, I had the rhino between me and the sun, and I was actually balancing between having an aperture which cuts down the light, at the same time give me a decent closed-in depth of field, so I don't get too much of the background. And you can see I'm at the extreme of my shutter speed. Even at ISO 200, I'm shooting at 1/8000th of a second. So that was my one morning silhouette shot. The next one was again an early morning shot, this time in the Serengeti. It was an early morning drive. We just left the lodge and I was prepared with all my cameras except for the wide angle, and I was prepared for a silhouette shot. Suddenly, this giraffe popped out of the bushes right in front of me. It was just too close for a 500mm lens to get the complete animal. Luckily for me, I had the sun right behind it. And since the camera was already set for a silhouette, I shot this. I had to be happy with just the neck and the head. The only good part of the whole thing was that I had the sun exactly behind the animal. At f22, combined with a negative exposure compensation of 3 full stops, I was able to cut down enough light to even give the sun a decent sharpness. Sometimes as photographers you think you did not get what you planned to shoot, but what you actually get could also turn out to be beautiful and nice. So don't give up. So this was Africa. I sincerely hope you enjoyed seeing my images. But before I wind up, I want to show you a small teaser image of a beautiful bird I shot in Costa Rica. This was not part of my exhibition, but I really wanted to show this, and here it is. This is a king vulture. It's one of the largest New World vultures, second only to the condors, and is found in Central and South America. It's a very, very solitary bird and lives predominantly in tropical lowland forests. It has so much of attitude in the wild that you will really fall in love with this bird for its dramatic portraits. The previous shot just before this was a head-on shot of the vulture, and hence I was in centimeter metering mode. And then when it turned to give me this pose with this mouth, with this beak open, I had no time to change to the required metering, which would have made it more dramatic. So I metered center and then moved to compose. And you can see that for those photographers who want detail, texture and relief in a bird portrait, you have it all there in loads. I like this picture. It's a beautiful bird. So, well, thanks for being with me during this online photography exhibition. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the images I shot, and I also hope you enjoy the stories behind each of these images. Please do post your comments, however good, however nasty they can be, for all of them contribute to my learning curve. If you have any technical question, I will be happy to try and answer all of them. And if I don't have the answers, I will put my efforts to get the answers for you. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you again for watching this. Thank you.